2026 is coming, and a lot of believers are about to enter the new year trying to overcome sin in the same way, striving in their flesh, trying to force change, trying to do things in their own strength and still failing. The truth is, the battle isn't in your behavior, it's in your mind. And if your mind isn't renewed, you'll keep repeating the same cycles no matter how much you try to change. But God has a revelation of grace for you, a way to overcome sin that isn't rooted in perfection, but in love, His presence, and His power. And before I go deeper, I really want you to hear the part that I'm about to speak about, because this is where most believers get stuck. Most believers confuse conviction with condemnation. Condemnation says God doesn't want to talk to you. He doesn't want to speak to you. God is angry with you. God is ashamed of you. That's the devil speaking to you. And the one thing most believers don't realize is that the real snare isn't sin itself. Everyone falls, but the righteous gets back up every time. The real snare is the condemnation the enemy sneaks in every time you fall. That lie that tells you that you're unworthy, that God is done with you, that you failed too many times. But real conviction is completely different. Conviction is God pulling you closer. Conviction is the Father guiding His child back into intimacy. Conviction is love correcting you, not love shaming you. Satan knows that if you truly understood what conviction truly meant, you would never be stuck in bondage again. Now that's just the foundation. And if you can grasp that, then everything I'm about to say next is about to click. Here's something the Lord showed me. Forgiveness cleanses you from sin, but forgiveness can't do what grace does. Forgiveness wipes your slate clean. It restores you from unrighteousness, but forgiveness doesn't transform you. Grace transforms you. Grace renews your mind. Grace empowers your heart. Grace gives you the ability to walk in victory. Grace isn't just freedom from guilt. Grace is freedom to live above and not beneath. So though forgiveness washes you, which is a great thing, grace is the reality that actually changes you. And grace is what most believers don't tap into because they're stuck under condemnation. The book of Romans chapter 6 verse 14 says, "For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under the law but under grace." And once you understand the difference between forgiveness and grace, something in you just shifts. Because now you stop seeing God as someone you're trying to impress, and you start seeing Him for who He actually is. When you truly understand grace, you can finally see the Father clearly. He's not distant, He's not angry, He's not waiting to punish you. He's a perfect Father who wants intimacy, not distance. He wants your heart, not perfection. So even when it comes to the conversation of failure, it's not a tombstone for your destiny. It's a teacher. This may break some religious mindsets off of you, but obedience doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. It just has to be authentic. Grace gives you the will and the power to please Him, according to the book of Philippians. Now, when you start seeing the Father this way, instead of the way you used to see Him, something in you and your identity starts to change. And that's when you're finally ready for the real process of transformation, and not just hype and not just emotions that are fleeting. Romans chapter 12 verse 2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." This is how you overcome sin. You overcome by overcoming the mindset that feeds it. Every lie you believe about yourself, about God, about your past must be replaced with truth. Open your Bible, open the Word of God, speak it, meditate on it, let it rewire your thinking. Most of what we blame on Satan is actually us being bound to the law instead of living by grace. Holiness is a gift. Transformation is a gift. The desire to please God is also a gift. God gives you the power and the will to walk uprightly. You don't overcome sin by effort. You overcome through alignment. You overcome with alignment with what Jesus already did on the cross. And when your mind finally starts lining up with truth, this is when something supernatural happens. And this is where everything begins to transform in you. When your mind is renewed, everything changes. You start living from a higher place, from heaven's perspective, not from earthly struggles. Sin loses its grip. Fear loses its voice, condemnation loses its power, and shame loses its hold off of your life. And you begin to walk in freedom, joy, and intimacy with God. You aren't living beneath anymore. You're living above, seated in heavenly places with Christ. You're living according to who God says you are, not according to what sin you fell into or according to what you've been through in the past. And this all leads me to the part that I want to leave you with. 2026 is coming fast, and God is calling His people higher. But this next year will only be powerful for those who release condemnation, embrace grace, and allow the Word of God to renew their mind. Conviction is not punishment. Failure is not final. Grace is your power, and Jesus already won. So the choice is yours. Will you enter 2026 striving, or will you enter 2026 surrendered, living from grace, living from intimacy, and living with a renewed mind? Heaven is calling you higher. Sin can no longer define who you are. Let God transform your mind, your heart, and your life before 2026.